Dollywood is an amusement park owned by Herschend, located in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I got the opportunity to visit this park on October 3rd and October 4th of 2020, which means that Lightning Rod sadly was not open. It was being transformed into an RMC hybrid, so essentially they were RMCing an RMC. But in this video, I'll be telling you everything you need to know about this park, about the rides, and some recommendations to make your day a little better at Dollywood. So, let's begin. So once you pull up to the park in your car, you'll have to pay $25 for any vehicle that is average length. If you have an RV or a trailer or a larger vehicle, you'll need to pay about $30. But once you pay that price, find your parking spot. I'd recommend getting there at least 30 minutes to an hour before park opens. That way you can park closer to the front of the parking lot. But if you arrive to the park in the afternoon, you might be super far away from the park entrance. No need to fear, Dollywood has parking lot trams. That way it doesn't take you too long to walk from your car to the front of the park, and vice versa. Dollywood's parking lot is over a mile long, so taking the tram is the best option. The tram is 5 cars long, and you might get a few butterflies, but the tram doesn't really do anything special except bring you to the front of the park, so it'll save you a lot of walking time. When you're at the front of the park, you're greeted by this very pretty entrance, and from there, I'm going to be going through the attractions, going to the left. So, you walk left, and there's a lot of shows, and some restaurants. But we haven't really gotten to any of the rides yet, so we'll get to those a bit later. But keep walking along the pathway, and you will get to see some pretty lights, which are changed by the park when a new holiday starts to come around. For instance, in Halloween, there's Halloween-colored lights and decorations. Christmas, it's the same thing, only Christmas-colored lights and decorations, so yeah. But now we're starting to slowly get into the rides. The first ride that you're greeted with is Thunderhead, which is Dollywood's only completely wooden roller coaster. The ride does have an on-ride camera, so you can see your own photos. There are restrooms right next to the entrance, so make sure to go that way. You don't have to restart the queue line. The restrooms are very clean, some of the cleanest in the world, but right next to Thunderhead is Whistlepunk Tracer, the park's kids coaster. It's nothing special. There's also a drop line right there too, which is the park's drop tower. There is some food right next to Whistlepunk Tracer and drop tower, or drop line, just pizza and Dippin' Dots. There's also Lumberjack's Lift, which is basically like a manual drop tower. And you see how heavy and how strong you are as you lift yourself up and then drop. No, you don't have to go all the way up to the top, but you can. If you walk down the path a little further, you will reach Mystery Mine, which is the park's Girthlower Eurofighter. Mystery Mine has a gift shop, so you can get your Mystery Mine merchandise there. I personally didn't purchase anything particular to Mystery Mine, so I don't know what they have in there. That was Timber Canyon, one of the sections in Dollywood. So we're just getting started, as we've got like 10 more of these to go. Now, not all of them have very major things, so they won't be talked about as much, but let's take a left, and right next after Timber Canyon is Wildwood Grove, a new area that's mostly for families. You will walk through a very cool tunnel, lots of plants. It is great on your eyes, and you'll get a very pleasant feeling. You have some dining options to the right, including sweets and treats and Till Harvest food. The first ride that you'll see is Treetop Tower. Right past that, you'll have some restrooms. When you walk further, you'll see the Great Tree Swing, your pirate ship ride. Again, this is a very nice area of the park with plenty of trees and foliage. If you walk even further, you'll see the Wildwood Tree and Wildwood Creek. I did not do either of them, but they look pretty cool. There's also Black Bear Trail, which is a nice little ride. It's hard to explain what it is, but it looks cool. Right next to that, you have Mountain Grove Merchants, which is a gift shop. I don't know what's in that gift shop as I never visited it, but Frogs and Fireflies is a little frog jumping ride. Hidden Hollow is a play area for children. Right next to that, you have some restrooms again. There's a baby changing station in case you have babies or toddlers, and there's also a first aid station. There's also some Dippin' Dots right next to that in case you get hungry. The Mad Mockingbird is a flying scooters ride. I don't know how fast these went, as I didn't ride, but they sound cool. And finally, the best ride in Wildwood Grove is Dragon Flyer, a Vekoma family inverted roller coaster. It's pretty fun. I got some butterflies on that first drop. You will also hear about this in-depth review in the future. But let's get on from Wildwood Grove. Moving along through the park, the next section will be Wilderness Pass. The first thing that you'll see when you walk through here, according to that you're coming from Timber Canyon, is this area called the Plaza at Wilderness Pass. It's a small area with some cool theming. The Doghouse and Splinter's Funnel Cakes are a couple of restaurants in this area. There are a couple of gift shops right next to those restaurants, including Hansville Wax Company and Volunteer Supply. One of the other restaurants in the area is Skyview Snacks. Wild Eagle and Fire Chaser Express were the two roller coasters right next to each other in this area. Eagle's Flight Outfitters is a gift shop pertaining to Wild Eagle. Firehouse Fun Yard would be your little kids area right next to Fire Chaser Express. And then at the end of the area, there are some games you can play. I don't know what games they had, but they looked fun. I actually saw a few of my friends while in line for Fire Chaser Express, and we lived quite a few hours away, so it was a pretty big coincidence. But that's about it for Wilderness Pass. The next area of the park we're going to talk about next is going to be Craftsman's Valley. This area has 9 attractions, 2 of them are roller coasters. Assuming that you're coming from Wilderness Pass, the first attraction that you're probably going to notice is Tennessee Tornado, which is an aerodynamics looping roller coaster. A classic to the park. I wouldn't say that it's a necessity to ride, but other people say that it's one of the greatest aero loopers in the world. Right next to there is a food truck for the park and Tennessee Tornado Dippin' Dots. There's also some games right by. You'll keep walking along and you'll see a gift store, and then you'll see the other roller coaster, which is Blazing Fury. It's an indoor coaster and has a few surprise drops, but don't go in expecting the whole ride to be crazy. It only has the 3 final drops. Wings of America is a bird show at the park. There's 9 more shops in the area, 9 more restaurants, including Gristmill and Cinnamon Bread. I didn't get anything from there, but I hear it's really good. There's also just a couple more attractions, but they really aren't anything super special, so we are going to go ahead and move to Owen's Farm, perhaps the smallest area in the park. It also has a gristmill. It had Granny's Garden, which is a playground. Little Pilot's playground was, also a playground, but the biggest ride in this area was Barnstormer, which is an S&S Scream and Swing. Next, we're going to be talking about the Village. This is also a pretty small area, but because of one of the attractions, it goes through a lot of the park. This area has a carousel, a show, 2 restaurants, but the main draw of this area is the train, which goes through the park and then out of the main park to see some very cool scenery. So, in a way, this area of the park is technically the largest, but if you do ride the train, I'd recommend getting a shower immediately when you get to your hotel. That way you can get all of that ash out of your hair. Yes, this ride will put some particles in your hair. Not necessarily wanted. But right next to that area is Peppermint Valley, which is a kids area. It has a lot of attractions, but they are pretty outdated. And I don't really know too much about it, so I'm going to skip it. And I just recommend skipping it yourself too. Riverside Junction is the next area we're going to talk about, and after this, we have 3 more areas to go to. But Riverside Junction has 3 attractions, including the Backstreet Theater, which is a show where some people sing. Literally right next to there, you'll find Dolly's Tennessee Mountain Home, which is Dolly Parton's childhood home. And let me tell you, it was a small place. And then there's also Smoky Mountains River Rampage, which is a raging rapid style attraction, which is closed in the winter. This area also has a lot of shops and restaurants, so do the 2 other areas that I still have to cover. Now that I think about it, I think I'll skip over those areas because there's almost nothing except shops and restaurants. There are, however, a few shows. But finally, the final area we're going to talk about, Jukebox Junction. This area has a roller coaster which is voted one of the best in the world. But we'll get into that right after talking about the other few attractions in this area. In this area, there is the Pines Theater, a show, and Rockin' Roadway, which is a car ride. Sort of like an antique car ride, but the cars are a bit more modern, like around 70s era. We also have a couple of restaurants, but the coaster that I'm talking about is Lightning Rod, an RMC hybrid roller coaster. Like I said, I never got to ride it, but I hear that it is insane, and I'd love to ride it someday. But before you exit the park, you'll go through another gift shop. I got a shirt with all of the roller coasters on it, but then when you exit the park, you'll have to ride the tram back to your car, and then exit the parking lot. Wow, that was a lot, but we're not done. Now I'm going to talk about some recommendations about the park to make your day better. During your day at Dollywood, the lines might get extremely long. They got pretty long whenever I was over there. I definitely recommend getting a time saver pass whenever you visit the park. That way you can save a ton of time. I'd also recommend staying on the on-site hotel, as you will get free time saver passes. Early entry to Dollywood on Saturdays. It's a great place to relax. They have some great food and beverages, and a place for the kids to play. I never got to stay here. I'm just reading off some of the benefits. I definitely recommend heading to the back of the park early in the morning before everybody else gets there, and actually just get to the park extremely early, and the crowds will be lighter in general. Lighter than the afternoon, at least. I'd recommend having at least 2 to 3 full days at Dollywood, as you are going to need them to do everything and to enjoy yourself, as there is a lot to do at the park. And I'd also recommend checking what's open when you go if you can, as Lightning Rod has a lot of days when it's closed. Dollywood is all open on average from 11 o'clock a.m. through around 9 o'clock p.m. They are open from April through January, so it's a pretty long schedule. If you ever do plan to book a trip there, be sure to check their calendar, and even double check, as there are often weeks where Dollywood has 2 to 3 days a week where the park isn't opened. So be sure to check your calendar, because you don't want to end up back at home wondering why you spent $2,000 on a 2-way plane ticket headed to Dollywood for absolutely no reason. But anyways, that's going to wrap up my review of Dollywood. I just have one more thing to say. Would I recommend going to Dollywood way out in the Smokies? Oh my gosh, yes. This park is amazing. It is my favorite park that I've been to, better than Cedar Point. The atmosphere is just so pleasant, and they have some pretty great staff. But I hope you've enjoyed this long review of Dollywood from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Well, long-ish. I hope it brought you what you were looking for. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment your thoughts on this video. Dollywood is getting another roller coaster next year, so that's another reason to get to the park. But anyways, have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video.